a number of the comments that I always get are, where is there any hope? How can we hope for anything here? And the answer to that is, um, stop thinking about individual crises. I mean, still participate in those. We need to protect our Somali neighbors. We need, what the things that ICE is doing are unconscionable. All of those things are still there and must be combated. The bigger picture, though, certainly seems to be an executive branch that is increasingly just essentially saying F you to the American people. And the question of how elected Republicans and other people in the country will respond to that. And if you're an elected Republican, what does that look like? Trump is falling apart. Watch him. He is falling apart. He's under enormous stress. He can't stay awake in his own televised cabinet meeting. He's got incompetent people around him who are committing war crimes. And those Epstein files are, I believe, we're 19 days toward the deadline of when those things have to come out. And a lot of people are like, well, they're not going to turn them all out. No, I feel certain they're going to do their best to hide them and to do, to redact them and do all kinds of stuff. But I keep saying to you, think of how many people have seen them and who can say, wait a minute here, I saw that document and what's missing from it is X. And a lot of them are not going to be willing to continue to cover up for people who are doing things like committing war crimes. So where you should get hope is the fact that we are watching this administration really sort of collapse in real time. I mean, it's a lot coming at us all the time, but it's in many ways fascinating. A lot of these storylines are sort of coming to a crashing end. But now that being said, it's going to get really ugly. It's going to get really ugly before it gets better. So, the what is the all of those sayings about narcissists ending up in madness and the dying mule kicks hardest and a cornered rat bites and all that sort of thing. That's what we're going into in December, January, February. We're going into this crash between the executive branch, members of Congress, if they stand up to it, and the American people. So I'm not saying it's time to pop your champagne. I'm saying it is the larger picture is not of an administration that is consolidating power. It is an administration that is crashing in on itself. And you see this in the Trump's popularity numbers, which are in the mid 30s. And people say that's still too many people. Remember that you're always, always, always going to have a reactionary movement is always going to have at least 22% to 25% of the people behind it, for various reasons. But if your floor is 22% and he's at 35, he's not doing real well. And you've got the problem, the crisis of the economy. You've got the crisis of the appointees. You've got the crisis of Trump's own mental acuity. You've got all these things sort of crumbling at the same time or smashing together at the same time. Imagine what it would look like if you had a mentally competent, quite skilled politician doing what, consolidating the kind of power that Trump is doing. It'd be a very different story altogether. So that's out there in this moment as well. Let me see, did I get everything here? Yeah, I think I got everything that you were interested in, at least that I could do in this amount of time. So what would I tell you to watch now? If I were telling you what are the things to watch, I'm watching Trump's brain. First of all, that's the first thing. And second of all, watch what especially the Republicans in the Senate do. That's where the real pressure is starting to ramp up, but there should be a lot more of it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in that Tennessee special election. Now, a lot of you have asked me to predict what's going to happen going forward. I don't know. We've never been in a moment like this in American history before. But I will tell you this: now is the time to keep the pressure up. And for the next several months, by the way, when it is time to breathe, I will tell you when it is time to breathe. But right now, the more involved you are at the local level, at the state level, in protests, and those protests are economic as well as political, um, is supporting your neighbors, all the things that people are talking about doing out there. Um, Spreading the word. What needs to happen is more Americans need to understand what is happening and why it matters, and also articulating what we want going forward, because we are not going back to January 19th, 2021. We're just not. But if we're not going to do that, let's make it better. Like, what are the issues that matter to you? I mean, I care about universal health care, but mostly I care about education and journalism. That's where my muscle is going to really go, is into trying to reshape American education. Figure out what your lane is and start getting involved with people who do that. That doesn't mean we have to have all the answers, but it does mean that when we hit the ground running, we want to be able to articulate what we want, and crucially, we want to have people in office who will be able to translate those desires into actual legislation and funding, which is that's actually quite hard as well. And we haven't talked a lot about that on in this channel, but I will, because articulating what you want is really important. But then electing the people who can pull the right strings is key to making those ideas actually become reality. And those are not the same skill sets. We need both of those sets of people. The people who can best articulate what we want are almost never those people who can figure out how to create coalitions that make them happen. And that's people often make that mistake of thinking that somebody who articulates a vision very well is going to be able to make it happen. It's just a different skill set and they can't do it. And similarly, sometimes you want those invisible workhorses because they know which buttons to push to get enough people on board to make something happen. So going forward now, keep up the pressure and don't get discouraged. What is happening is horrific. Don't forget that ever, because that's really important that we keep that naivete, if you will, to care deeply about our humanity and our laws. But while keeping that in mind, it's important to remember that the larger picture is one in which this administration is under enormous stress, and the momentum is on the side of those people pushing back against it. And the more voices we have in this, in whatever way you are comfortable speaking up, the better chance we have of both getting rid of those oligarchs who are trying to destroy the United States, but also of building something on the other side that more adequately addresses the larger needs of the American people, which is, after all, the point of a democracy. So I actually kind of took the day off today, because for once it felt um, like I wasn't the only one who was keeping tabs on this administration and really pushing hard. Now it turns out I do have something to say, but now is not the time to despair. To the contrary, this is the time really to bear down and recognize that time and the ravages of age and of stupidity are on the side of American democracy right now. They're really helping us out. Trump's not going to get better. These guys are not going to suddenly become more competent at their jobs. The economy is not suddenly going to miraculously recover. And we are increasingly getting our muscle behind us.